Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So Ipam Kalaman recently came forward with something that I can only describe as a heads up specifically for black folks. So in a now viral clip, he boldly called out what many black Americans have been sensing. This current administration is getting desperate enough to try and stir things up, especially in the black communities. So according to this video, they are hoping to see a lot of black folks back in the streets protesting, marching. But here's the thing, that's not going to happen. Black folks are resting, and they have every right to rest. Now this upcoming protest on the 14th of June, just around the corner, I want to speak directly to the black brothers and sisters. TikTok family already said it, you are still resting, and I second that. Stay home, don't get pulled into a trap, don't end up like those women who decided to protest in Philly and faced consequences that could have been avoided. Rest in resistance, and right now your peace is your power. Let's take a look at this clip. For more context, I'll be right back at the end of this video to give my own 2 cents.
Racist provocations are going to lead to violence sooner or later, and that's what he wants. Recently, he issued an executive order that was basically titled Unleash the Police. And last week, his Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice, led by Harmeet Dillon, did a couple of things. She announced that she is shifting the focus of the Civil Rights Division away from what its focus has been for the last 70 years that made it the crown jewel of the Department of Justice, is shifting its focus away from discrimination against marginalized communities in the United States, including black people in the LGBTQ community and women and the disabled, to focusing on discrimination against white Christians in the United States. Religious discrimination, discrimination against religious people. And we all saw Trump's treatment of the black president of South Africa in the Oval Office this week. Trump is absolutely desperate to get black Americans out in the streets protesting. There have been a lot of protests over the last 4 months. And every protest that I've gone to has pretty much been white people exclusively. And the police have just hung out on the outer edges, leaning up against buildings. The one protest that I read about where there were a significant number of arrests was in Philadelphia. And most of the people that were arrested were black people, and the majority of those were black women. A lot of those were older black women. But once racial violence in the streets in the United States, and he can't get that unless there are black people, black Americans protesting in the streets. He wants that, first of all, because he's incredibly racist and he hates black people, and he really hates black women, especially educated black women. But he also wants to use it as a pretext for his martial law bullshit. And we've all seen his immigration policies and practices over the last 4 months and what he's doing to brown people and immigrants. And he wants, he and his supporters basically want an all-white America again. They want supremacist, male-dominated patriarchy, white male-dominated patriarchy, supremacist country that is also an authoritarian theocracy. He also, his handpicked U.S. attorney in New Jersey, Alina Habba, who prior to representing him had been an attorney specializing in representing parking garages, and she defended him, such as the case may be, in a lawsuit that he filed against Hillary Clinton and a bunch of other people that resulted in him having to pay over $1 million in their attorney's fees, Hillary Clinton's attorney's fees. She represented in the civil case in New York that he lost, and he now owes the state of New York over $600 million. And she represented him in the second E. Jean Carroll case that resulted in an $83 million verdict against him. So he rewarded her legal genius by making her the U.S. Attorney for the state of New Jersey. And a couple of weeks ago, 3 members of Congress and the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, went to an ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey, and there was a kerfuffle, and there were 2 people. Well, there was one person who was arrested on scene, the black mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, and then this past week, they arrested Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, a Democrat from New Jersey, whose district includes most of Newark, New Jersey. The other 2 members of Congress were not arrested. And add in the 4 months of anti-DEI. I mean, this is an explicit, and I'm sure that it is incredibly confusing to Donald Trump as to why Black Americans are not out in the streets in force as they were during the summer of 2020. And we saw all of the police violence that accompanied those protests because Black people were out in the streets. The last 4 months, the protests have been all white people, primarily. Local police forces do not meet those crowds with police violence. They just don't. And, you know, it's incredibly important, I think, that people who look like me continue to show up to these protests consistently, day after day after day, over the next several months or years. But we can always just go back home and at the end of the day and retreat into our whiteness. I heard that phrase from a Black woman on this app. I can't remember who it was, or I would give her credit, but that just stuck with me. We can retreat into whiteness. That's always our top designation category. You know, it's like when you look at the authoritarian playbook, you know, he's got to find an enemy within. And sure, he's got immigrants. He's been railing on DEI. He hasn't yet come out and just you know, when you look at the language that he uses about immigrants, I mean, it's incredibly dehumanizing language, refers to them as vermin, poisoning the blood of our country. And he did that during the campaign with the Haitians in Ohio, the Haitian immigrants in Ohio. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And since Inauguration Day, he hasn't used that kind of language explicitly about Black Americans at scale. But again, I think he's got to be just absolutely dumbfounded at the things that he is doing with his executive orders, what his Civil Rights Division and the DOJ is doing, how he's treated leaders like the president of South Africa, the things he's been doing with DEI. An incredibly racist administration. I'm sure he's utterly dumbfounded as to why Black Americans are not out in the streets. But if they do, and he gets to use violence, then he will have his enemy within the United States. He views immigrants as an enemy without to get rid of. But if he gets Black people out into the streets, they're going to be his enemy within. He's desperate for it. He's absolutely desperate for it.
Okay, so let's talk about this. One thing I know for sure, and I say this with confidence, is that the spiritual connection within the Black community is unmatched. It's deeper than the politics and louder than the media and more powerful than any system trying to manipulate their movements. And we've seen it again with this situation. You know, Black people across the country have communicated through social media, through unspoken energy, through a collective, knowing that they're not going to protest anymore. Black folks are not going to be pulled, provoked, or played into any agenda. I genuinely believe that they are aware of everything that's happening. This isn't some shocking revelation for many of them. It's not new. It's actually some what I can call confirmation. So no, I'm not going to come out here and start saying wild things about the president or throwing around words just to stir up things. That's not what this space is about. At this point, the only people that I need to talk to are the people who look like me. My message is simple. Please take care of yourselves, protect your peace, guard your spirit. Do not get involved in any protest. You've already heard it from the man in the video, and now you're hearing it from me. Something is being cooked up, and it's not for, your benefits. It's anything. It's a setup, and I need you to be smarter than that, because I know you're smarter than that. I mean, there's a reason why the TikTok black community is calling out to you guys to rest now, why the energy has shifted, why the usual response to stand up, rise up, march has been replaced with a quiet, sacred stillness. That is not a weakness. That is a divine wisdom. That's strategy. That's survival. I don't want to see any more of, us getting hurt or caught up in something that was never meant to empower us in the first place. You guys have seen how these things play out over and over again, but it's not going to happen this time. Please don't let it happen again this time. 14th June, please stay home. Choose a different path, a higher path. Stay home, be aware, stay safe, and most importantly, stay connected to your intuitions, to your people, and to the bigger picture. Please let me know what you think about the video that we just watched. How did it make you feel? And whether you've noticed this, have you noticed this same shift in your own communities? I want to hear from you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching, for listening, and for thinking, beyond what two eyes can see. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care of yourselves, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that every time I upload such videos, you'll be very much notified. I'll definitely see you in my next video. Stay peaceful.